Let's go.
In 2020, DaBaby was everywhere. Rockstar sat at number 1 for 7 weeks straight. He was on every feature, every playlist, and every award show. He was performing at the Grammys. He was in Super Bowl commercials. And the one important thing, he was the most energetic and most talked about rapper on the planet at the time. But fast forward to today, and the conversation has completely dried up. No big features, no number 1 records, no big cultural moments, just silence. So what happened? How do you go from being the hottest rapper alive to completely irrelevant in just a few years? Was it one mistake? Was it the industry? Was it bad timing? Today, we're breaking down the full story. The rise, the peak, the fall, and where DaBaby stands right now. Let's get into this shit, man. To understand how far DaBaby fell, you have to understand where he came from. Because this was not an overnight success story. Jonathan Lindale Kirk was born on December 22nd, 1991, in Cleveland, Ohio. But he grew up most of his life in Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte isn't really known for being a rap hub. There was no established scene, and no artists getting sent to the mainstream. And if you wanted to make it out of Charlotte, you had to build it up yourself. And that's exactly what DaBaby did. For years, he was grinding independently, recording mixtapes, selling CDs out of his car, performing at small local shows. He was doing everything the hard way with no label backing, no cosigns, and no industry connections. His early mixtapes built him a local following, but it didn't really break him through nationally. What made DaBaby different from other independent grinders and musicians in the space was his personality. Even in those early videos and freestyles, you could see it. The charisma, the confidence, and the humor. He had a presence that was hard to ignore. Then in 2019, everything changed. He dropped Baby on Baby, an independent project that caught fire without major label support at all. The production was hard. That double 808 on Soog, bro. We thought that was the shit at the time. And his bars were sharp. Delivery was unlike anything in the mainstream at the time. But also, he was aggressive. But he had like this humorous side, like I stated before. People didn't know whether to be scared of him or laugh with him, and I think that was a very special thing for him. It definitely gravitated people towards him. Interscope Records came calling. He signed a major deal and suddenly had the resources to match his ambition. DaBaby dropped later that year and debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200. Let that sink in. A rapper who was selling CDs out of his car just a few years ago had the number 1 album in the country. The industry took notice. Features started pouring in, and his name was in every conversation about who was next. By 2020, DaBaby was scorching hot, bro. And the proof was Rockstar. The Roddy Ricch collaboration dropped in April 2020 and immediately took over. I know if y'all were on TikTok in 2020, holy shit, that shit ruined my fucking life, that fucking song. Anyways, it hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and stayed there for 7 weeks. 7 weeks. During a year where the entire music industry was disrupted by the pandemic, DaBaby managed to put out the song of the summer. It wasn't just a hit. It was a cultural moment. What made DaBaby special during this period was his versatility. He could do hard street rap, but he could also do melodic hooks. He did that one pop crossover too, if I'm not mistaken. Am I tweaking? But yeah, no, he did. He made that song with Dua Lipa, Levitating. That shit was huge, bro, in 2021. And he started collaborating with people like Doja Cat, Post Malone, Lizzo, all big people in the space. He was crossing demographic lines that most rap artists can't even think of going into. His live performances were legendary. The energy he brought on stage was on another level. Running around, engaging the crowd. and making every show feel like an event. He performed at the Grammy Awards. He headlined major festivals, and every appearance felt like a statement for DaBaby. His personality translated perfectly to the internet too. The memes, the freestyles, the interviews. DaBaby was endlessly making entertaining content. In the social media era, that matters almost as much as the music itself. He was also putting Charlotte on the map. He was bringing his city with him, shouting out the culture he came from, and making other Charlotte artists visible in the mainstream. He wasn't just a star now, he was a movement. And for about 2 years, DaBaby was operating at a level very few rappers ever reach. He had the mainstream numbers, the street credibility, the personality, the live performance, and the social media presence as well. Everything was clicking for DaBaby. July 25th, 2021. Setting the stage for y'all, Rolling Loud Miami. This is the moment everything changed. DaBaby gets on stage in front of thousands of people and makes a series of comments that were ignorant, harmful, and completely unprovoked. He made homophobic remarks and statements about HIV that were not only offensive, but factually wrong. The crowd reacted in the moment, but the real reaction came after, online. The backlash was immediate and overwhelming. Within days, the consequences were rolling in. Dua Lipa put out a statement distancing herself from his comments and removed him from the Levitating remix on streaming platforms. Elton John even spoke out. Yeah, what followed was horrible. Lollapalooza dropped him from their lineup, and there's just like a tirade of like every single festival canceling him. And to be fair, he might have deserved it. Well, let me hold back from that, because I think cancel culture and hip hop it doesn't stick. Rappers have survived way worse than DaBaby. The genre has a long history of controversial statements, and most artists either apologize, lay low for a few months, and come back stronger. Or they double down, and their core fan base doubles down with them. DaBaby did neither effectively, though. His initial response was defensive and dismissive, which kept the story alive in the news cycle. Then came an apology that felt incomplete. Then more back and forth on social media. Instead of one bad weekend becoming a 2-week story, it became a months-long conversation that followed him everywhere. The casual fans started falling off, and this is the crucial point that people underestimate. DaBaby's number one records were not built on his core hip-hop fan base alone. Rockstar and Levitating crossover because casual pop listeners were streaming them. Those people are the people who made him a mainstream superstar. And those people do not have loyalty. They move on the second something more comfortable comes along. And by the end of 2021, the energy completely had shifted. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't one specific moment. It's a slow erosion of cultural goodwill that quietly took the wind out of his momentum. What happened next made everything worse. Rather than going quiet, making great music, and letting time do its work, DaBaby stayed loud, but all for the wrong reason. There was public beef with multiple artists. He had a very public falling out with Megan Thee Stallion. He got into it with Offset. And there were social media posts that kept him in drama cycles that had nothing to do with music. Every time he should have been promoting a project, he was instead responding to someone on Instagram. Legal issues compounded the problem. There were multiple incidents that put him in headlines he didn't want to be in. When you're trying to rebuild your image, that is the last thing you need. Bad press. It has nothing to do with your art. And unfortunately, his music releases during this period didn't land the way they needed to. It wasn't that the music was bad per se, but his core fans will tell you he was still making hard records. But the perception has shifted, so it's weird. Playlists that used to feature him were now featuring other artists. DSP algorithms that once pushed his music are now no longer willing to put on new listeners for him. And the streaming era, once the algorithm stops fucking with you, it's incredibly hard to get them back. Meanwhile, the landscape around him completely changed. New artists came up and took the energy he used to own. Glorilla emerged and dominated, followed by Central C. And then I think during that time, Dirk had his little run and he got way bigger. The playlist spots, all that shit got taken up, bro. All that rap caviar he used to own, it was Baby Keem, Lil Durk, Central C, man. DaBaby was nowhere to be seen. He also was dating that one girl, Danielle. That played out horribly, and it was very messy on social media. Like, once you know your relationship's getting posted on the Shade Room, you don't want nothing to do with that, bro. It became a compounding problem, though. Bad press led to less streaming. Less streaming leads to fewer opportunities for DaBaby. And fewer opportunities obviously lead to less visibility. And it just all made the bad press feel even louder. To DaBaby's credit, he just didn't disappear, he kept working. He dropped multiple projects trying to recapture momentum. He linked up with producers, went back to his aggressive rap roots, and tried to remind people what made him lovable in the first place. There were moments where it felt like a comeback was possible. A hard freestyle here, a solid feature there. And I actually like that one song, Pray, man. He makes some good singles sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. He leaned into his core audience heavily, performing at shows, obviously staying active in Charlotte where they fuck with him the most. And he was able to maintain a presence with the fans who he had left. And those fans are loyal. Real DaBaby fans will tell you he's never stopped being hard, even though I kind of disagree at a point. And yeah, the music quality was never an issue. But I think the spark to get him back in the mainstream door, that shit's over with. He's not getting those pop collaborations no more, bro. And maybe here and there he gets booked, and I imagine he's making good money, but he ain't gonna headline a Rolling Loud. He's not gonna headline shit. So the industry had quietly moved on from bro, and guess what? He's left to rebuild it all again. And he's with way lower foundation than he had himself with before. But that's not to say he can't come back and drop more hits. Some artists have pulled off this kind of comeback. A few years of grinding, one undeniable record after another, and then you got that cosign and you're all of a sudden back on. It's not impossible, but obviously it requires him to be clicking on all cylinders with the lyrics and shit, and also just finding the right moment in this weird time in hip-hop. Right now, DaBaby exists in a weird in-between space. He's not completely gone. He still has a fan base, and he still drops music, but he's not in the cultural conversation the way he once was. He went from being the name everyone was talking about to being the example people use when they talk about how fast this industry can turn on you. And honestly, that's the real lesson here. The music industry, especially in hip-hop, is ruthless about momentum. You're either building or you're losing ground. There's very little middle ground for these rappers. DaBaby had built something genuinely rare: mainstream crossover appeal, street credibility, personality, and work ethic, all this at the same time. That combination is incredibly hard to put together. And it came apart not because of one single catastrophic event, but because of a series of decisions that compounded over time. The Rolling Loud comments started to crack. The response widened it, and the ongoing drama kept reopening it every time it started to heal. Could he come back? Absolutely, like I was saying before. This industry has seen stranger things, but it would require an undeniable record that forces its way back up into the conversation, a period of keeping the drama offline, and frankly a little bit of luck in terms of timing. Because as fun as DaBaby is, man, he be saying wild shit still. But again, the talent is always going to be there. The question was never whether he could make hits. The question is whether the industry and the audience are willing to give him another real shot. Alrighty, y'all. Thank you for watching my video about DaBaby. From selling CDs out of a car in Charlotte to #1 rapper, and now he finds himself here. If you want me to cover more stories like this, let me know. Leave a like. Get to that. I love y'all. Leave a like. Leave a comment. Comment cookie if you watch this bitch through. Love.
What type of wit is you and what type of bitch can you get? What type of money can you flip? The type of questions that I get. I need a color in the silence of the thoughts in my head. Come out road and go to bed. Then I thought it help with it. With my bros be kinda lit. It's a party on the 5th. Full up, we be popping shit. And this bitch is by the 5th. Zip be entertaining it. We not alcoholics, but up the baddies, and here we is. Baddies pull up till you clear. Play, I pulled up to the crib. I'm ballin' out just like Shaquille.